Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. It's finally that time of the year when we make lists, especially booktubers. Like, we make the favorite books list, the worst books list, the next year's TBR list, and what we want to do during the next year, this whole bookish resolutions kind of thing and all that. And since the year has technically not yet ended when you will see this video, I have not yet made my favorite books and worst books list, but I have made plans for the next year. And today's video is yearly TBR kind of video. Every year I make this list where I list down some books that I want to read throughout the year. It hasn't been successful so far. Even 2020 has been like, I think I've left about 3 books unread on that list, but this year I somehow want to complete it all. I want to finish all the books that are on this list, and given my I don't know what even I keep thinking, but I've added 2 tomes to this list. What 2? No, 3. I've added 3 tomes to this list, and I'm fine. Everything is fine. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the 21 books that I want to read in 2021. These are the books that I will be reading throughout the year. I've chosen these consciously, and that's because I feel like I never get to these books. Even if I add them to any TBRs, I'm like, okay, we'll get to them, and I've pushed them aside. But adding them to this list will probably make me go and actually read them, because monthly TBRs, I've never managed to complete even one TBR in my entire life. So yearly TBRs are it for me, but yearly TBRs also I have not been able to finish. I'm hoping that 2021 will be a better year in terms of that. But without any further ado, let's get into this video and let me share with you the 21 books that I want to read in 2021. First on this list is War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, and this will be the first book that I start reading in 2021, but I know that I will not finish this for a couple of months at least, so you just have to wait for a review to come in any one of the wrap-ups. It will mostly come in March though. But yes, I will be buddy reading this with Nandini, and we have a whole schedule set up for this, and it's going to be a while before we finish it, and I just hope we can stick to the schedule. From sophisticated St. Petersburg soirees to breathless troika rides through the snow, from the bloody front line at Austerlitz to a wife's death in childbirth, Tolstoy conjures a broad panorama of rich, messy, beautiful and debased human life. We follow the fates of open-hearted, impulsive Pierre Bezukov, his melancholy friend Prince Andrei, and the enchanting Natasha Rostova, as history and fiction are combined in one of the wisest and most enthralling novels ever written. But you know what? Even though this is a tome and it's really intimidating me, I'm really excited to read this because, see, Leo Tolstoy has been on my radar, on my TBR for ages. When I was about a teenager, I used to think that, okay, Leo Tolstoy is going to tell me something profound, and I really need to read his books. But then I never got around to reading him because somehow I ended up reading more of Alistair MacLean and Robert Ludlum books. I mean, those also I've read like 2-3 books of, but those held more attraction for me than this. And somehow once I got into further reading, and once I discovered a whole new world of fantasy, YA, contemporary and all that, in addition to literary fiction and classics, I just found I didn't find the nerve to start on this one because it's so huge and it seems so intense also. But I feel like after the intensity that 2020 has provided, I feel like maybe 2021 I will be the one providing intensity in the manner in which I will pick up books. Who knows? Next up is The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga. This has also been on my TBR for ages. I don't even remember when I bought this book. I think this was in 2016 that I bought it, and I still have not read it. So you can see how much of a procrastinator I am when it comes to the books on my TBR. But I will read this in 2021. I'm also planning to add this to my January 2021 TBR, which will come later this week. So please stay tuned for that also. But this is the story of Balram Halwai, the White Tiger, servant, philosopher, entrepreneur, murderer. What? You can't just say that much. Hey, they're all reviews, dude. Give me the blurb. No, that's only the blurb, huh? What? Okay, fine. That's the only blurb that is available. But you know what? I really love this cover. It's loud, it's colorful, and yeah, it might look like it's just white on black, but the illustrations are really good. But that's beside the point. I know nothing of this book except for the fact that I think there's an adaptation being made. I don't know if it's film or TV, but that is also coming out. So hopefully 2021 will see me actually reading this book, and in January that too. I mean, who am I? Next is a book by an author that I really admire, even though I have not read even a single work of hers. Is that possible? I think so, because that's happened to me. And that author is Maya Angelou, and the book that I'm talking about is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. This book is Maya Angelou's autobiography, and she talks about her early life in this book. This was published in 1969, and I've heard phenomenal things about this book, and I'm really excited to read it because I feel like Maya Angelou has that strength, that power that pulls you to her, and I really need that in my life right now. So I'll probably be reading this in February. I have plans for that also, so please stay tuned for that as well. Maya Angelou's poem And Still I Rise is one of my favorite poems of all time, and the way she writes, it echoes her strength, her power. So I'm really looking forward to read this book, and I hope that I will get to it, that I come to my senses and I get to it. Next is another book that I have been intimidated by and I have not picked up because of its size, and this has more than 900 pages. Like I said, I added 3 tomes to this yearly TBR, right? So this is another one of them. The book is Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts, and I have absolutely no idea of what this book is about. Let me see the blurb though. In the early 80s, Gregory David Roberts, an armed robber and heroin addict, escaped from an Australian prison to India, where he lived in a Bombay slum. There he established a free health clinic and also joined the mafia, working as a money launderer, forger and street soldier. He found time to learn Hindi and Marathi, fall in love, and spent time being worked over in an Indian jail. Then, in case anyone thought he was slacking, he acted in Bollywood and fought with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. Amazingly, Roberts wrote Shantaram 3 times after prison guards trashed the first 2 versions. What? It's a profound tribute to his willpower, obviously. Okay. Do I even make sense sometimes? I am really intrigued by this book, and I'm really excited to reading it, even though it's a tome. I am intimidated by it. There's no doubt about that. But I'm also excited to read it. So there's a plus. Next is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think I've already talked about this book in my book haul, in the last book haul of the year that went up last week, I think. And this is about yesteryear's actress Evelyn Hugo, who comes out and she talks about her glamorous and scandalous life. Yes, I remember correctly. And I also remember saying that Taylor Jenkins Reid has this thing where she talks mostly about people in the limelight, like celebrities or something. Like in Daisy Jones and the Six, the band itself was a 70s band, and in this book Evelyn Hugo is a yesteryear's actress, and I'm really intrigued to see where she takes the story. And I've heard glowing reviews of this book, and I know of people who are die-hard fans of the book, of the writing style, of the characters, so I'm even more excited to read it. I feel like maybe this will be the year where I put a book on the TBR and I actually read it, but I thought that of 2020 also. Let's not get too optimistic or too hopeful. Next up is Our Moon Has Blood Clots by Rahul Pandita. This is the story of the Kashmiri Pandits' exodus from Kashmir. I think that it is, and I have been wanting to read this from earlier this year, but then something happened, then the lockdown happened, and my brain went all sorts of ways and I never got around to reading it. I think there's a movie called Shikara that came out in 2020 that is based on this book, and I thought, okay, now I'm going to read this book and then I'll watch the movie, but such plans, somehow they never come to fruition. I don't know. I'm hoping that I will be able to change that in 2021, but plans. Next up is The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I had added this to the 12 books that I wanted to read in 2019, but I never got around to reading it because even 2019 a lot happened. Not as much as 2020, but it did. This is a book that I don't know why, but I have been procrastinating reading, and every single time that I think, okay, I'm going to read this, I go at it like, okay, this is going to be heavy, so let me just put it off one day, and that one day has become weeks and then months and then years, it looks like. But this, I'm hoping this will be a year that I finally read it. I'm hoping to read this in February as well, so let's see how that one goes. Cora is a slave on a cotton plantation in Georgia. All the slaves lead a hellish existence, but Cora has it worse than most, an outcast even among her fellow Africans. She is approaching womanhood, where it is clear that even greater pain awaits. When Caesar, a slave recently arrived from Virginia, tells her about the Underground Railroad, they take the perilous decision to escape to the north. In Whitehead's razor-sharp imagining of the antebellum South, the Underground Railroad has assumed a physical form, a dilapidated boxcar pulled along subterranean tracks by a steam locomotive, picking up fugitives wherever it can. Thus, Cora embarks on a harrowing journey seeking true freedom, pursued relentlessly by a terrifying slave catcher named Ridgway. The concept of racism and slavery is so angering, and I have to be really prepared for this book. Next is a collection of short stories which is so widely acclaimed in the Indian literary circles. Maybe 2021 will be a time when I actually read this and find that I really relate, or I really love this book because of the time that I read it in. Did I even make sense? But the book I'm talking about is The Adivasi Will Not Dance by Hansda Sauvendra Shekhar. This is a collection of short stories. This is a very short book. This doesn't even have 200 pages, and I am really looking forward to this because we have something coming in 2021. But I'm hoping that this will be a book which I will dip my toes into for that particular thing that's coming. So I'm really excited to read this. This is a collection of short stories set in mineral-rich hinterland and the ever-expanding squalid towns of Jharkhand. The author breathes life into a set of characters who are as robustly flesh and blood as the soil from which they spring, where they live, and into which they must sometimes bleed. The back cover says that these stories are highly political as well, so given the political situation in the country, maybe this is an important book in that way as well, in more ways than one. Next is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. I'll tell you why I added this to my 2021 TBR. Because of late, my Mein Kampf video has been getting a lot of attention, and a lot of people have been commenting on that, saying that whatever you are reading, it's all propaganda and all that. But it got me thinking. I even read another fiction book that was set in World War II, and I was so disgusted, so angered. One, at the way Hitler treated people. You cannot say look at both sides before talking when it comes to Hitler. I'm not saying the other side is pure, that they are the best people, they are so righteous and all. But in saying that Hitler was misunderstood, he was not. There were a lot of people who understood him really well and they took him at his word, and then what did they do? They butchered people because they said Führer. So I'm going off, I'm so worked up about that. And this is the story of the author himself and how he was sent to a concentration camp and how he survived it all. And I really want to know more about the situation there, because this is a first-hand account. Do I have to say anything else? Because if I do, I feel like I'm going to go off on yet another tangent about how. Next up is Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. This is full of writing advice, it seems. The author talks about some instructions on writing and life, and I bought this pretty recently. It was part of my last book haul, and I am really looking forward to reading this because one, I am a writer and I could use the advice. Two, I really need it urgently, this advice, because I am planning to revamp my work, my second novel in 2021, and I want to finish the first draft at least. I'm planning to read this in January itself and maybe implement the advice that she's giving almost immediately. Like I will probably need to go over and over again and like revise or something, because it's a learning thing, and learning, my brain, it works in different ways. But yes, this is something that I have been really excited about for a long time, even when it was just on my wish list, and now that I have it, I'm really looking forward to reading this. Next up is Funny Boy by Shyam Selvadurai. I added this book to so many of my TBRs in 2020, but I never got around to reading it. But this is the story of a boy's sexual awakening and about discovering himself for 7 years until the 1983 riots in Sri Lanka. And I'm hearing that there's also a movie made. I think Deepa Mehta made the movie, and there's this whole thing surrounding the Oscars and all, and the Oscar committee not considering it as an international film because there's too much of English in it, and I think they're going to consider it as part of the main race or something. I'm not really sure what that whole thing is, but the movie is also there. That's what I've been trying to say. But what I am planning to do is I will probably read this book and watch the movie, and if you would like, I'll make a reading vlog also about it. But I don't know if I will be able to keep my head while reading this book, because this sounds so intense, and apparently this mixes political with the personal in ways that is simply amazing. So that makes it even better, right? And I am really looking forward to reading this book. 2021, please be kind to me and please make me read this book. That'll be your ultimate kindness. Basically, make me read all the books on this list. Ultimate kindness that'll be. Next up is If on a Winter's Night a Traveler by Italo Calvino. I hope I've pronounced that name right. I feel like it's Italo or it's Italo. I'm not really sure. But this is a weird book, I've heard. And even the, even the blurb, it says a different thing with every different line. And I'm like, okay, this seems really interesting, and it is set in a bookshop. I mean, it's not set in a bookshop per se, but it involves a bookshop as well. So I'll just read out the blurb for you. You go into a bookshop and buy If on a Winter's Night a Traveler by Italo Calvino. You like it, but there's a printer's error in your copy. You take it back to the shop and get a replacement. But the replacement seems to be a totally different story. You try to track down the original book you were reading, but end up with a different narrative again. This remarkable novel leads you through many different books, including a detective adventure, a romance, a satire, an erotic story, a diary, and a quest. But the hero of them all is you, the reader. I always wanted to be a hero in a story. And this person, this author, is helping me be it. Thank you. Okay, but seriously, I didn't know about this until earlier this year, I think. Was it June? I think it was in June when I read Kafka on the Shore, and I was telling Nandini about how weird it was and how Murakami is the only author from whom I will take anything. I will take anything from him. And she was like, okay, wait till you read If on a Winter's Night a Traveler and then come and talk to me about it, because that is also one crazy ass book. So I was like, okay, what was the name of the book you said? And I went and bought this book. So now I hope you're proud of me, Nandini, because I am going to read this in 2021. Come what may. Okay, next up is a book that I've seen wrecking everyone who has read it. Every single one with no exception. And it's a tome as well. It is 720 pages long. And I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. The font is also like tiny, but I feel like you know what I should do? I should buy a magnifying glass. But that's not the point of this book. The book is that, I don't know, it's somehow, I've seen people cry on camera. Like there's a vlog, I think it was Paperback Dreams, I think she was the one who did a whole vlog about it, and she cried, man, she cried like a baby. And I'm like, shit. But you know that I love such stories, right? I love stories that make me cry, and I'm all for it. Like, if you want to watch me make a mess of myself, then you should watch. Have I even told you which book this is? The book is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I'm so sorry. Hanya Yanagihara. Please, brain, please make it say it right. This is a book that I have seen so many people lose themselves over. Fine, take everything I have. Take my emotions, take my soul. There's no blur on the back again. It's here inside. When four classmates from a small Massachusetts college moved to New York to make their way, they broke adrift and buoyed only by their friendship and ambition. There is kind, handsome villain and aspiring actor. JB, a quick-witted, sometimes cruel painter pursuing fame in the art world. Malcolm, a frustrated architect at a prominent firm. And withdrawn, brilliant, enigmatic Jude, who serves as the center of gravity. Over the decades, their relationships deepen and darken, tinged by addiction, success, and pride. Yet their greatest challenge, each comes to realize, is Jude himself. By midlife, a terrifyingly talented lawyer, yet an increasingly broken man. His mind and body scarred by an unspeakable childhood and haunted by a degree of trauma that he fears he will not only be unable to overcome, but that will define his life forever. Okay, take my heart, no, I don't need it. Next is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. This was the center of a huge reading rush controversy last year. I never got around to making that video, but I thought by the time I got that bandwidth to make it, it was all water under the bridge. So this is a book that talks about performative activism, performative allyship, and it's ironic because the whole reading rush thing, it sort of did that. It indulged in performative allyship. And I was really pissed off at the time. I still am, by the way, but that's a different matter altogether. But this is a book that I've seen on so many book club lists that I was really intrigued by this book, and I was like, I need to read it, and I bought it, but I have not been able to read it. I was hoping to read this sometime earlier this year, but I did not get to it, obviously, and I'm hoping that 2021 will be a year in which I do get to read this book. When Amira is apprehended at a supermarket for kidnapping the white child she's actually babysitting, it sets off an explosive chain of events. Her employer, Alex, a feminist blogger with the best of intentions, resolves to make things right. But Amira herself is aimless, broke and wary of Alex's desire to help. When a surprising connection emerges between the two women, it sends them on a crash course that will upend everything they think they know about themselves, each other, and the messy dynamics of privilege. Next is Men Explain Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit. I don't think I need to talk much about this book because the title is self-explanatory and about what the author is trying to say in the book. Because yeah, I feel like it's more about mansplaining, how patriarchy dictates that man thinks he's always superior, and that whatever a woman is saying, a man is like, no, you don't know anything, I'm right. And then they go on to explain. But you know what? I'm just going to read the book. Next is a book with a really intriguing title, you could call it. I mean, why would you do that, you would ask, upon first looking at the title, because that's exactly what I did. So maybe I'm the only weird one here. But the book is Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. Why would you drive your plow over the bones of the dead? But there is something that's very important about this book, you could call it. And apparently Olga Tokarczuk is a Nobel Prize in Literature laureate. She offers thought-provoking ideas on our perceptions of madness, injustice against marginalized people, animal rights, the hypocrisy of traditional religion, belief in predestination, and caused a genuine political uproar in Poland. So what this is about is, in a remote Polish village, Janina Duszejko, an eccentric woman in her 60s, recounts the events surrounding the disappearance of her two dogs. She is reclusive, preferring the company of animals to people. She is unconventional, believing in the stars, and she's fond of the poetry of William Blake, from whose work the title of the book is taken. When members of a local hunting club are found murdered, Duszejko becomes involved in the investigation. I've already read this blurb before. I can vaguely recollect it, but I did not remember. You know me. But I am really looking forward to reading this. This is about not even 270 pages. I feel like this is going to be a book that will get me thinking about a lot of topics that somehow we don't pay much attention to, and I'm really looking forward to it. Next is Boys Will Be Boys by Clementine Ford. I read Fight Like a Girl in 2020 and I loved it. It's one of my favorite books of all time now. I love how aggressively Clementine Ford has talked about how patriarchy affects women and men, and how it takes down women while it's uplifting men. Men don't need more upliftment. It's women who do need. We just want equality. But no, right? There's going to be a lot of whataboutery and oh my god, how can you be such a misandrist? You are talking against men. That's not the point of that book at all. And I don't think people understand that, because I've seen first hand Clementine Ford getting a lot of hate, and because I posted about the book on Twitter, I got a lot of hate as well. And people, they are not even creative with their insults, dude. They're like, you're such a feminist pig. What? I have been wanting the paperback for this book, Boys Will Be Boys, for a long time, but I'm not able to find it anywhere. And I'm hoping that I will be able to find it. I have the e-copy, but I don't have the paperback. And I know that somehow I will love this book as much as I loved Fight Like a Girl, if not more. Next up is Against the Loveless World by Susan Abulhawa, and I'll tell you why I am really intrigued to read this book. One, because it seems like a very powerful voice. This is a Palestinian author, and she talks about the situation in Palestine and about Israel's occupation of Palestine. And two, because I am so angry that a white man's account of the goings on in Israel and Palestine, Colum McCann's Apeirogon, it won some award when this was royally ignored. And when I came to know that there existed a book that was more authentic than that, and that book was getting more appreciation than this book, I was like, hold on, no more explanation needed. I'm going to go and buy this book and I'm going to read it. Nar has been confined to the cube, 9 square meters of cinder block devoid of time. Journalists visit her but get nowhere because Nar is not going to share her story with them. Many in the world call Nar a terrorist or a whore, and just as many call her a revolutionary or a hero. But the truth is more complicated than that. She was named for the river her pregnant mother crossed when she fled Israel's invasion of her home in Palestine. For a time, she was Almas, a girl who went to late-night parties in Kuwait with powerful men. She was a girl who learned early and painfully that when you are a refugee, love is a kind of desperation. She was a woman who went to Palestine in the wrong shoes and found there what she had always lacked in a battered beauty parlor: books, friends, politics, and a fighter named Bilal. Nahar sits in the cube and tells a story, and Bilal's. Bilal, who may not even be alive, but who is her only reason to get out. So now you're going to ignore this and give that. I mean, on the surface, it also sounds like an amazing read, but I don't know why I'm hating on that book when I need to be talking about this. Next is another book that I had added to one of my yearly TBRs. I don't know which year that was. And the book is The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. And I must tell you that this book has already been spoiled for me. What happens in the end, I already know because of a particular author who was writing about Irfan Khan, his biography, Irfan Khan's biography, and he mentioned in that book कि end में this happens. You see, you talk about his acting, no? Why are you talking about what happens in the end? But this is the story of Gogol, who was named in haste after his father's favorite author. Growing up in an Indian family in suburban America, he finds himself yearning to cast off his awkward name and with it the inherited values it represents. Determined to live a life far removed from that of his parents, Gogol sets off on his own path, only to discover that the search for identity depends on much more than a name. Okay, I don't know if I should read the book and watch the movie as well. I'm not really intent on that. But I really do want to read this because this has been a long time coming. And I feel like I really should have by this point. Next is Ted Chiang's Stories of Your Life and Others, and this I really wanted to read in earlier this year. I don't remember which month. I was like, I'm going to read this. This is Ted Chiang's masterful first collection. He deftly blends human emotion and scientific rationalism in 8 remarkably diverse stories, all told in his trademark, precise and evocative prose. From a soaring Babylonian tower that connects a flat earth with the firmament above, to a world where angelic visitations are a wondrous and terrifying part of everyday life. From a neural modification that eliminates the appeal of physical beauty to an alien language that challenges our very perception of time and reality. This sounds fantastic. Like, in a literal manner, I'm saying this sounds really fantastic because of the themes that the author is exploring in them, and I'm really excited to read this because a Bookstagrammer friend, he said that this is one of the best books that he's ever read and that he would highly recommend it. It was on his recommendation only that I bought this book, so Kaushik, this is for you. The last book on this list is The Women Who Forgot to Invent Facebook and Other Stories by Nisha Susan. This is a debut collection. I am really excited to read it. That's all I'm going to say, and that's all I can say, because I feel like I have spoken a lot about this in my book haul video. A classical musician finds a prince in a chat room. 3 dancers in Kochi mastermind their sex lives over email. A young wife in Mumbai becomes obsessed with a dead woman's online relics. Strange and familiar troll wars drag at a writer's peace of mind. Her daughter's cell phone conversations deeply worry a cook in Delhi. A young mother finds a job monitoring disturbing content for a social media company. The stories in this dazzling debut collection tap into the rich vein of love, violence, and intimacy that technology, particularly the internet, has brought to the lives of Indians over the last 2 decades. 2 decades that transformed India's digital landscape, where would-be lovers went from cooing into cordless phones to swiping right on cell phones. Nice. I've heard a lot of good things about this book though, and I feel like this is going to be one that I will really enjoy because of what the author is talking about in this book and about what it represents. It's in a mocking manner that the author has named this The Women Who Forgot to Invent Facebook and Other Stories, and I love that because it is so powerful in its way, in its sarcasm, that I'm like, men have to stop saying that. Like, it's a shame that there are no women around here. Like, if you had a choice, you wouldn't choose a woman. So, but yes, this is a book that I am really looking forward to read. I don't know at what point in the year I will read it, but since we have that big thing coming, that announcement coming, there are 12 stories in this book, and yeah, super intrigued and super excited to read this. So those are the 21 books that I want to read in 2021. Which of these have you read? Which ones do you want to read? Which ones did you like? Which ones did you not like? What book are you currently reading? What plans do you have for 2021? Maybe reading plans or something. What's the list of books that you want to read in 2021? And is there anything that you would like for me to do in 2021 as such, booktube wise? If you'd like to see any videos, if you'd like to see any reading vlogs for any of these books, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.